Apple may not exactly be synonymous with gaming computers these days, but there was a time in the 90s where you not only could game on Macs, but do so quite well. Many games were available on the platform or were ported after the fact, and honestly, if you had a Mac during this era, you wouldn't have to miss out on what your PC friends may have been experiencing. Not everything was available, but you were not short on options when it came to games. This is especially true for the G4 line of Macs, which, looking at them now, have the familiar tower design of the PCs of the era, plus what I see as one of the biggest things going for it: easy expandability. Let's take a look at one of those easy upgrades to boost your gaming enjoyment on your Mac G4. Welcome back to Rick's Random Retro, where we do like gaming on all platforms. What we have here is an Apple Power Macintosh G4, known more commonly as the AGP model, with a RISC processor running at 400 MHz. Specs include 256 MB of RAM, a bus speed of 100 MHz, a 27 GB hard drive, DVD drive, as well as an included zip drive. These models are super easy to open with a convenient handle that pops open the entire side panel in one swift move. Once inside, you'll quickly recognize many contemporary features from PCs of today, such as standard drives, PCI slots, and above all, an AGP expansion slot. Now that said, for the video card specifically, you do have to rely on Mac-designated models, often differentiated by both the firmware on the card as well as the actual AGP connector pinout. This was to provide power to the special video connector Apple used on many models of the era called ADC, short for, you guessed it, Apple Display Connector. This connector provided video, power, and USB all in one for the convenience of a single proprietary cable connected to your supported monitor. Unfortunately, the board in our G4 was never designed with this in mind, so we won't be able to take advantage of that connection without additional adapters. However, DVI and adapters to convert this to VGA will work great in our case. We'll save the ADC specific monitor for another time and stick with the regular one. Our G4 model shipped with an ATI Rage 128 Pro from the factory, and it's a good card but perhaps not a great one. More than capable of providing some fun enjoyment in a wide range of games, but even at release this wasn't targeted as a high-end video card, although it was definitely able to trade blows with some of the other popular options at the time. Of course, one of the reasons we're here today is to upgrade that video card, and while we have to keep in mind what is compatible with this machine, one of the easiest paths for us to take is to look at the newer G4 models and what they ship with. That being the G4 referred to as the mirror door model for some fairly obvious reasons. While there are several variants of this model, some of them ship with one card that is of particular interest to us. That being the ATI Radeon 9000 Pro. While not the best in the 9000 series of cards, it should be a considerable upgrade for our lower machine, but above all, in theory, fully compatible with some good games possible. Now, some mirror door models also ship with a GeForce 4 MX card that I also have, and while that might seem like an interesting option, unfortunately it is not able to provide accelerated 3D graphics under macOS 9, and instead needs OS X, which we won't be using today. So let's try the Radeon 9000 Pro out compared to our Rage 128 Pro, run some benchmarks, and see exactly what the gains are and why you'd want to consider this upgrade. The nice part again with this case design is that it's a total snap to both access and swap parts out. Simply open the case, remove the card, put in our new card, and that's it. Let's see how the machine runs now. We are currently running macOS 9.22, which will be the last version available before Apple switched to macOS 10. This just feels more 90s, don't you think? Either way, our Radeon is fully supported on our machine and OS level. An additional specific driver needs to be installed before putting the card in, but beyond that, no additional tweaks are necessary. The card is good to go and ready for our testing. So, let's go ahead and check out some before and after benchmarks. All of these tests were run in 640x480, 800x600, and 1024x768. An absolute favorite at most LAN parties at the end of the 90s, Unreal Tournament defined what it meant to be an arena shooter. This game still holds up remarkably well and is installed on most of my retro computers that can handle it. This Mac is no exception, and here our Rage 128 Pro has a decent showing, pulling in just around 30 FPS with the expected drop at 1024x768 during the intro demo loop. Fully playable, but not what I'd call smooth. Also, the Rave specific renderer here produces a really grainy image quality, but perhaps I'm just missing some simple settings to improve this. Compare this to the Radeon 9000 Pro, and something becomes clear very quickly. The performance difference at a low resolutions is minor, however as the resolution goes up, so do the gains. Look at the difference at 1024x768 and we have a whopping 54% increase in performance. Which yes, that's still under 40 FPS total, but Unreal Tournament is a game our computers struggle with the most, so that is a welcome increase to say the least. You may not associate Quake 2 with Mac, but sure enough there was a port of this as well, and it actually runs quite well on this machine. There's a fully expected drop in performance as we increase the resolution, but honestly the Rage 128 Pro has a strong showing here, although this game is arguably a little less demanding overall for our machine. Looking at the results from the Radeon 9000 Pro, one thing becomes very obvious. The flat line indicates we're now bound by the performance of the CPU, as resolution increases have little impact on the end result. That said, we're getting a very smooth 70+ FPS across all three resolutions, making the game very enjoyable to play. The other very popular arena shooter you don't need to explain very much is Quake 3. It was, however, very popular to measure your computer's performance using this game for the era, as was the case with most of id Software's creations. The game is not an easy one to run for our machine, but we still pull in respectable numbers, however above 30 FPS across all three resolutions on the Rage 128 Pro. Perhaps not what you want for a Twitch-based arena shooter, but playable. Switching to the Radeon 9000 Pro again, we can clearly tell the video card is no longer the bottleneck. We're seeing virtually no difference between all three resolutions, giving us results just under 50 FPS. An improvement for sure, but there's clearly more to be gained here from this video card that we just aren't seeing. Heretic 2 continues the fantasy setting of Heretic, but then goes in a completely different direction, offering a third-person game with plenty of Tomb Raider flavor to it. This is built on the Quake 2 engine again, but pushes things a bit further, taxing our machine even more. This is visible in the benchmarks, where the Rage 128 Pro fares worse off compared to what it did in Quake 2. Frame rates really suffer once we go to the higher resolutions, and it becomes less enjoyable to play. Looking at the Radeon 9000 Pro, results are much more favorable, yet again locking ourselves to just under 60 FPS, regardless of the resolution in use. Saying there's a pattern at this point may be stating the obvious. Still, this game is dramatically much more enjoyable at 1024x768 on the 9000 Pro. So, there we have it. The Radeon 9000 Pro provides a substantial performance boost over the Rage 128 Pro, which is not exactly surprising considering it is clocked considerably higher at 275 MHz. That is compared to the Rage at 166 MHz. The 9000 Pro also carries more and faster memory, so there really is no contest there. That translates to an increase in frame rates across the board, but above all at the higher resolutions. However, while looking at those performance gains, the most obvious assessment we can make is that this card has more to give, but is being held back by the 400 MHz processor. That's not surprising considering how much newer the card is compared to the Rage 128 Pro, but it also tells us there's more to be gained here with further upgrades to this machine. Especially considering how flat the performance metrics are with the new card regardless of resolution. That said, I bet this very upgrade path was taken by some looking to boost their aging G4 AGP back in the day. We benefit greatly because the upgrade is so easy with just a simple drop-in and then you're done. In our case, it helps that the Radeon 9000 Pro cards are not nearly as sought after compared to the more exciting versions, which does help availability. Easy upgrades have defined the PC gaming experience for decades, so it's something I wish Apple would have continued on with as well. But, at least during the 90s and early 2000s, there were really easy ways to boost your Mac's gaming performance. And since we like retro, that's where we'll stay, so I expect to see more upgrades coming to this G4, as I think it's a really neat machine I'd like to use more. And don't worry, the mirror door model will have its chance to shine as well, in another video. But, that's it for this one. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did tinkering with this cool machine. With that, I'm off to play some games on my Mac, so thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video on the G4, you might like a live streaming session that was done on this very machine or some of my other videos. Otherwise, you can find me on social media or catch me live at 8:45 PM Central on Thursdays. Take care, and until next time.